Angel Reese just got shipped to the Atlanta Dream for 2 late first-round picks and a second-round swap, a 2-time All-Star, the single-season rebounding record holder, a player who averaged double-doubles like clockwork. And Chicago basically gift-wrapped her for picks that won't even convey until 2027. That's the kind of return you get for a bench player, not someone the media spent 2 years calling a generational talent.
Angel Reese traded to the Atlanta Dream, as you guys know. Jeff Pagliocca couldn't wait to send her package. See ya. In fact, reports are coming out that Jeff Pagliocca was so excited about sending Angel Reese to Atlanta, he personally packed her bag.
So either every front office in the league forgot how to evaluate basketball overnight, or they all know something about Angel Reese that her highlight reels never showed you. What Chicago just leaked about the real reason behind this trade changes everything, and it goes all the way back to a rivalry that was never real. To understand how we got here, you have to go back to when Angel Reese first walked into the WNBA. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Carrying buzz that most rookies only dream about. Fresh off a national championship at LSU, she'd become one of the most polarizing figures in college basketball history. Her social media following was massive. Brands lined up to sign her. The narrative wrote itself before she even played a professional minute. Chicago believed they were landing a franchise cornerstone, someone who could sell tickets, move merchandise, and anchor a rebuild simultaneously. The sky had been stuck in mediocrity, and Reese was supposed to change everything overnight. The energy surrounding her arrival felt electric. Fans genuinely believed this was the start of something special on the South Side. A young, confident, physically dominant forward, stepping into a team that desperately needed relevance and star power. On paper, the story made perfect sense. But here's what nobody wanted to acknowledge at the time. Hype has a shelf life. And when actual basketball started, cracks appeared almost immediately that everyone chose to ignore because the brand was too big and the narrative too loud.
It's just a fact. It's more than a fact. She is not good at layups. But I was looking at her stats. I jotted some down right here, and she shoots an abysmal 39% from the field. She shot below 50% on shots less than 5 feet away, which is bad. And even worse than that is that shots from 5 to 9 feet, 13.
Chicago's front office watched those cracks widen over 2 full seasons, documenting everything behind closed doors, while the public stayed focused on highlight reels and social media numbers. The gap between expectation and reality grew wider every single month, and eventually, that gap became impossible to bridge with marketing campaigns and all-star selections. Reese's rookie season produced numbers that looked fantastic if you glanced at them for 3 seconds. Double-doubles piling up, rebounds at a historic rate, an all-star selection that felt like validation.
Time to launch a federal investigation into Angel Reese for sports gambling. Bang! You could only be this bad on purpose, right? Bang! With the recent developments of NBA players and NBA coaches being investigated by the FBI for sports gambling, is it time we take a look at Angel Reese? I think so. Bang! She told everyone, take my over in rebounds. Trust me, I grabbed my own misses. Bang! It really makes you think, was she throwing games? They finished last in the conference. Bang!
But the Sky finished 13-27. And somehow, despite all those impressive individual stats, the wins never followed. The answer was hiding in plain sight underneath the box score. She shot 39% from the field her first year. Her three-point shooting hovered around 18%, essentially non-existent. Defenses didn't bother closing out on her beyond 10 feet because math told them she wasn't a threat. They packed the paint and dared her to beat them from distance. She couldn't. But here's what really raised eyebrows.
Angel Reese isn't even the biggest star in pretend basketball. She is getting outshined in a league where outside of Caitlin Clark, there are no stars. And you expect me to believe Angel Reese is the biggest star in basketball? What in the hell is going on here?
A significant chunk of her rebounds came off her own missed shots. Social media called them mebounds, and the name stuck. She'd fire up a contested attempt, miss it, grab her own brick, and the stat sheet credited her with an offensive rebound. 2 possessions burned just to get back where the play started. Her second season didn't fix anything. Field goal percentage nudged to 42%, but three-point shooting stayed stuck near 18. The Sky's record actually got worse, falling to 10-34. She wasn't creating shots for teammates either. No passing out of the post, no pick-and-roll reads. Chicago ran significant offense through a player who needed multiple possessions to generate what efficient players produce on one touch. While Chicago was sinking, something remarkable unfolded 3 hours east in Indianapolis. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA as the most hyped rookie in league history and didn't just meet expectations. She obliterated them. 62 records broken in one season. The Fever made the playoffs for the first time in 9 years. 9 years of irrelevance erased in one campaign. But here's what separates Clark from Reese in ways no social media debate can paper over. Clark made every single teammate better. Kelsey Mitchell thrived in her pick-and-roll system, finding open looks she hadn't seen in years. Aliyah Boston anchored defense with renewed energy.
May 22nd, 2025, Angel Reese had one of the greatest stat padding possessions of all time. 4 to 5 offensive mebounds this possession. It is humanly impossible to be this bad. FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, somebody investigate. Look at that. Bang! Wide open layup turns into a brick show. She has to be doing it on purpose, right? Bang! Doesn't get more blatant than this. Throwing the game, you have to ban her for life. What is that? Bang! There's evidence every single game. I mean, come on, she's shooting backwards without looking. Nancy Drew, where are you?
Lexi Hull carved out a real role because Clark's court vision created opportunities that didn't exist before. That's what franchise players actually do. They don't just accumulate personal stats. They change the math for everyone sharing the floor. The manufactured rivalry between them generated clicks and drove engagement. Every matchup spiked ratings. But the rivalry was never real, because real rivalries require both sides operating at comparable levels. Clark elevated a franchise, while Reese watched hers collapse. Clark's teammates publicly praised playing alongside her, while Reese's teammates were reportedly walking out and crying at press conferences. The comparison never held up under scrutiny. It wasn't a rivalry at all. It was a contrast that made Reese's shortcomings louder than they would have been otherwise. And that contrast followed her everywhere she went.
Angel Reese acted like a total and complete idiot, and it got called out for it. Over a take foul. Stop it. We all know what's behind this.
The basketball was only half the story. What happened inside Chicago's locker room proved far more damaging than anything on the stat sheet. And this is where the trade stops being about basketball and becomes something else entirely. Game 1 of the 2025 season in Indiana, Reese publicly claimed she experienced discrimination during the game. The league investigated that serious accusation and found no evidence to support it. Right out of the gate, her default response to discomfort wasn't working harder. It was escalating and making headlines. That instinct set the tone for everything that followed. Then came the Courtney Vandersloot situation.
We can't rely on Courtney to come back at that age that she's at, Reese said. I know she'll be a great asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, somebody who's been playing the game and is willing to compete for a championship and has done it before. Courtney Vandersloot, by the way, 2-time WNBA champion, 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-WNBA first team, left the New York Liberty, a championship caliber team, to come help out the Chicago. Oh, damn. Oh, damn, oh, damn, oh, damn. It's all right, Courtney. It's all right.
Vandersloot is a 2-time champion, 5-time All-Star, respected across the entire league. She left the championship caliber Liberty specifically to help Chicago rebuild. During the season, she tore her ACL, a devastating injury, especially for a veteran. While Vandersloot recovered, Dealing with physical and emotional pain, Reese went to reporters and publicly said the team couldn't rely on Vandersloot to come back at her age. She said Chicago needed someone younger, with experience willing to compete for championships. Those weren't private thoughts that leaked accidentally. Reese said them on record, into microphones, knowing they'd reached the teammate she was dismissing. Every other player on that roster heard what Reese thought of them the moment they stopped being useful. That kind of comment doesn't stay in press conferences. It follows you into practice, into film sessions, into every huddle for the rest of the season.
Angel Reese boldly and competitively called out the Chicago Sky for how they would move forward in terms of needing talent if they were going to compete, saying that she wanted to be a part of the organization and she wanted to compete at a high level. It didn't go over so well, Jay, in the public eye domain, at least as far as Chicago brass was concerned, and she actually ended up being suspended for a half.
The Vandersloot situation was just the beginning. Kamilla Cardoso, Reese's own frontcourt partner and the player Chicago is building around, reportedly walked out on Reese during the season. Let that register. The person sharing the most floor time with Reese decided leaving was better than continuing to deal with the situation. When your closest teammate reaches that point, you've moved past personality differences into territory no team dinner can fix. September 2025, Reese sat with the Chicago Tribune and essentially torched whatever remained of organizational trust. She told the newspaper the team needed good players and great players and had to stop settling for what they had. She published those words while still under contract with the teammates she was publicly embarrassing. That's not competitive fire. That's burning everything down while still standing inside. The Sky suspended her shortly after for conduct detrimental to the team. She also collected her 8th technical foul of the season, triggering an automatic additional suspension. 8 technicals tells you everything about composure or its complete absence. Following the suspension, Reese didn't return for the final 3 games, citing a back injury.
A player who herself, after her sophomore season, refused to show up to her end-of-season press conference. Jeff Pagliocca wants no parts of Angel Reese. And she's out of there. Shout out to Bane. Free Cardoso. She is finally free. So they just wanted to get rid of her and didn't even try to get something in return. That's why. Just take.
The timing raised questions when footage surfaced of her twerking in Vegas around that same period. She also skipped her end-of-season press conference entirely. Reports indicated similar patterns with Unrivaled, not finishing one season and arriving late for another. A pattern was forming that made front offices very nervous about building around her. When the trade finally happened, the surprise wasn't that Chicago moved Reese. The surprise was that it took this long. Jeff Pagliocca reportedly couldn't wait to finalize the deal. Looking at everything, the losing records, inefficient stats, public callouts, suspension, the teammate walking out, missed press conferences, the questionable injury timeline, Chicago wasn't trading a superstar.
I mean, I'm still trying to make sense of it because you had Bree Jones and you had Brittney Griner.
They were removing a problem too large to manage otherwise. The picks weren't the prize. Getting Reese off the roster was the prize. The draft capital just made it look like a basketball trade instead of an organizational reset disguised as a transaction. Here's what reveals how the league actually views Reese. No other team jumped in with competing offers. A 2-time All-Star with a massive following and a legitimate record hit the market, and Atlanta was apparently the only team willing to take her.
But the 4th best player on the championship team, I'm saying this right now, Angel Reese is only going to be in Atlanta for 2 years. This year and next year until her rookie contract's up with. Want to know how I know? Because Atlanta's not going to offer her the max contract. Atlanta's not going to give her the supermax. Because you don't give the 4th or 5th best player on your team the supermax.
Every other front office evaluated the complete picture, the contextual stats, locker room history, suspension, behavioral patterns, and decided the risk wasn't worth it. That silence screams louder than any trade package. When the entire league passes and only one team bites, the market has delivered its verdict. Chicago accepted below market value without hesitation because getting her out fast mattered more than maximizing return. Teams don't settle that quickly for star players unless removing them from the building takes priority over everything else. This wasn't Chicago getting outmaneuvered. This was Chicago getting exactly what they wanted, out.
Yeah, let me tell you something right now. Unless there are extenuating circumstances, and the circumstances have got to be major, teams do not trade superstar players because they're outspoken. Teams do not send away their cash cow because they're difficult to work with.
Atlanta's front office framed this acquisition like they'd landed a championship puzzle piece. They called Reese a dynamic talent and perfect fit, which is exactly what you'd expect publicly. But roster reality tells a completely different story. The Dream already have Brittney Griner and Bree Jones occupying the front court. Griner is a dominant post presence, needing ball touches near the basket. Jones averaged 12.8 points and 7.7 rebounds in 2025, earning all-star recognition. She's not some bench piece you slide out of rotation.
Angel Reese did not request a trade from Chicago. The Chicago Sky said, "We just don't want to deal with the headache. We don't care. We don't want her here. She's been a locker room cancer from the jump. Quits the first year, quits the second year, fakes a back in my neck, my back, fakes a back injury, doesn't even finish her first season of Unrivaled, can't be bothered with her second season, so she just comes in late."
Now add Reese, who also demands paint touches and shot 18% from three. Three bigs wanting the same floor space simultaneously creates nightmares. Defenses won't acknowledge Reese's existence beyond 10 feet. They'll pack the lane, wall off driving angles, and dare Atlanta to win with contested mid-range shots. That strategy will work because Atlanta's new front court has no counter. The spacing catastrophe cascades everywhere. Allisha Gray finished 4th in MVP voting. Rhyne Howard put together an all-star season. Those guards are legitimate difference makers whose effectiveness depends on movement and spacing, on cutting lanes staying open and defenders stretched thin. Every minute Reese shares the floor, that spacing shrinks and paint congestion increases.
Saying the Chicago Sky got fleeced. Let's run with that. Imagine you want to get rid of a player so bad that you're willing to get fleeced in the process. Imagine you want to get rid of a player you're so desperate to rid your team of this player. A player whose fan base had Isabel Harrison and Dana Evans crying at the end of the season press conference.
2. Driving lanes narrow. Pick and roll options diminish. Gray and Howard built success on room to operate, and Reese compresses exactly the areas they need open. Atlanta didn't just add a player, they potentially undermined conditions that made their two best players dangerous. Nobody in Atlanta's front office seems eager to address the most important question: what makes them believe locker room issues won't follow Reese to a new city? This is the bet teams have made on talented but difficult players for decades. The change of scenery trade. Fresh start, new teammates, different coaching staff, new environment supposedly unlocking the version everyone believed existed. The historical track record of that bet is brutal. It almost never works because behavior doesn't live in the building. It doesn't live in the city or coaching staff or jersey colors. It lives in the player and travels everywhere they go. Atlanta's locker room had been building genuine chemistry with Gray and Howard as foundation. They'd established culture, rhythm, a functional way of operating together. Now, they're absorbing a player whose previous team suspended her for conduct detrimental to the team, a player whose front court partner reportedly walked away, a player who publicly criticized teammates in major newspapers, a player whose discrimination claim was investigated and found lacking evidence. That's not baggage you leave at the airport. That history walks into the facility day one and changes energy in every room. The contract situation adds complications. Reese has 2 years remaining on her rookie deal. When it expires, does Atlanta offer max money? Based on what exactly? You don't hand supermax contracts to the 4th or 5th best player on your roster. If Atlanta's smart, they know this arrangement has a built-in expiration date. Section 9. Chicago's real plan. The Cardoso era. 250 words. Chicago bought something valuable with this trade, and it has almost nothing to do with future picks. They bought a clean locker room. They bought freedom to build genuinely around Kamilla Cardoso without navigating a fractured front-court partnership. Cardoso has real two-way potential, good footwork, legitimate touch around the basket, defensive presence that can anchor a team for years. She's the player Chicago sees when they envision this franchise at its best. That vision never included a teammate who'd been suspended, who'd publicly embarrassed the roster, who'd reportedly driven Cardoso herself to walk away. The picks Chicago received will probably land between 8 and 12, assuming Atlanta improves enough to push selections into late lottery territory. Those aren't franchise-altering assets. But Chicago didn't make this trade for assets. They made it for absence. Absence of drama. Absence of daily damage control. Absence of explaining to the roster why one player operates by different rules. Some will say Chicago got fleeced. Run with that. Imagine wanting to remove a player so badly you accept a return that looks like a loss. Imagine being so desperate that you don't hold out for better offers. That's not a front office making mistakes. That's a front office making statements. The cost of keeping Reese exceeded anything they could receive in return. Getting her out faster was worth more than getting better packages slower. When franchises reach that conclusion, trade details become irrelevant. The decision was made long before Atlanta's phone rang. The question underneath everything that Reese's camp doesn't want to confront is becoming unavoidable. Is she on her way out of the WNBA? Not tomorrow, probably not next season, but the path she's on leads somewhere specific unless something fundamental changes. The league improves every year. Talent pools are deeper than ever. Young players arrive with complete skill sets, better shooting, higher basketball IQ, and professionalism that keeps them in organizations long term. The margin for players generating more problems than production shrinks rapidly, and Reese stands right on that edge. Atlanta might be her last real chance to rewrite narratives. New city, new teammates, new everything. If same patterns emerge, same friction surfaces, same gap between individual stats and team success appears, then conversations shift from finding the right fit to whether the right fit exists at all. That conversation typically ends with players quietly disappearing while headlines move elsewhere. The WNBA doesn't operate like the NBA, where problematic superstars get endless chances because revenue outweighs headaches. Economics differ. Rosters are smaller. Every spot matters more. Every dynamic carries weight. Every decision gets magnified. In that environment, a player shooting 39% who can't stretch floors, consumes extra possessions for inflated stats, and brings documented behavioral issues becomes very hard to justify regardless of social media followers. Brands don't win games. Brands don't fix spacing. Brands don't prevent teammates from walking out. And eventually, every franchise decides whether attention is worth the damage accompanying it. Indiana doesn't lose sleep over any of this. The Fever have Caitlin Clark healthy, a proven roster, a functioning system, and a locker room where players genuinely want to be. Atlanta has a spacing nightmare, a culture question mark, and a bet against history they're hoping somehow breaks differently. Angel Reese has a new uniform with a different logo and a window of opportunity getting smaller every season. What happens next is entirely up to her. But if the first 2 years of her professional career indicate anything, the smart money says the pattern holds. The league will adjust accordingly, whether headlines notice or not. Some players change franchises. Others prove why franchises change them. Stay locked. with my channel Simply Explained for more updates.